And I don't know about you, Lauren, but I welcome everybody. Thank you guys for being here. I have a couple of questions that I got messaged to me for someone who can't be on live. So I will find those. Okay, and answer them real quick. Get the doctor's 2 cents too, if she has any. But the first one is there any merit to a refeed day where you up your carbs for a day to replenish your glycogen stores? That's number one. Sometimes I think a refeed is even just good mentally. If you're in a position where you tell yourself, I'm going to eat my 80-90% knowing that, I'm going to go have pancakes Sunday morning with my family. If that works for you, then absolutely. Right. As far as the science goes for that, I just can't, it's going back to ancestry. I can't imagine that it was something that we needed, that you're in the middle of winter, you've got a ton of animal protein and fat and not a lot of carbohydrates, that they gained weight or they needed to replenish their glycogen stores. So science-based, I'm not sure that it's needed, but I don't see anything wrong with it if it helps you with your sanity, because if you really have an emotional tie to a food for whatever reason, maybe it's going to your aunt's house who makes the most amazing chocolate chip cookies, and it's just your reward, refeed, YOLO meal, whatever you want to call it. And it helps you be good all the other times because you know that's something that you're going to have, and by all means. But science backed, I'm not sure it's that important.
I'm on the same page as you. I don't think that we'll ever have a good research that proves or disproves that, just because there's not a lot of money. I mean, it would have to be a pretty massive, anytime you have good research, it's an expensive trial. It's got to be randomized, controlled, double-blinded, and that is a lot of money. And so this is why you don't get those kind of big studies on broccoli or fasting, that things that can't make a lot of money. But these big pharmaceutical, that's why they invest a lot of money in these big studies, because if it shows what they want it to, which of course that's a whole nother topic, because the outcome can oftentimes be persuaded in less rigorous studies. They can make billions, if not trillions of dollars off of that one pharmaceutical. So, but the gold standard in true medical research that is not able to be biased by billions of dollars is the randomized, double-blinded, controlled study that it takes a lot of money. So that's just a long roundabout way of saying I agree with you.
Well, I like that. You can agree with me whenever you want. The second one, which is actually a really good question, and when I built my course, I meant to put this in it and I didn't. So I might have to do an addendum, is why do my fingers and feet get super cold while I'm fasting, particularly during an extended fast? And it's very normal, and I can attest to it, but it's actually your blood goes more towards your fat stores when you're fasting than to your extremities. And so not having that blood flow just makes, the fingertips and the toes, and even you just as a core, a little bit colder. I don't know if it's because there's no science behind what I'm about to say, if it's just a coincidence, but I've always been cold, and my body temperature runs lower than, I'm usually like 96.8 to 98.6. It already runs lower. And I don't know if that's because I've been an intermittent faster for a quarter of a century. If maybe that plays a part in it, that intermittent fasting just, makes you run a little bit cooler, which there is science to prove that, when you run a little bit cooler, it's better for life expectancy. We'll find out in about 40 or 50 years. But I do run cold myself too, but it is normal, and it is just it's a positive side effect that intermittent fasting is working.
And there, hear me out when I say this, there is a temporary slowing down in extended fast that we're talking about when we have these symptoms. There is a temporary slowing down of your metabolism, but overall fasting shows to increase your basal metabolic rate. So what you have to understand is your metabolic rate is not just a set number. It's an ever-changing set point, right? So people that have chronically dieted and been on a caloric deprivation diet for 10, 15 years, it's going to be harder to increase that basal metabolic rate, but it's not impossible. Okay. But that number, that rate, that speed of which we break down and metabolize energy, right? It is not my metabolism is this number. So when you go into an extended fast, you actually go into a temporary slowing down of your metabolic rate. Totally normal, but overall, fasting actually has been shown to help increase your overall basal metabolic rate. So there's that. Okay, so let's get to these questions. So Lola has to leave early, but yeah, we always record, so we got you. Can you explain why my digestion changes the first 14 days of my cycle? Also, would you benefit from a DIM supplement? So, okay, so I would have to 100% go into way more of your own personal history, because the reason why your digestion changes at different points of your cycle is different than, you know, the person right next to you on Zoom and the person right above you on Zoom. But know that there is a diurnal pattern, if you will, of ebbs and flows of your digestion in regards to your hormones, because your hormones, your female hormones that cause your cycle definitely affect everything. But your specifics of your digestion, everyone's different. And, you know, a lot of it does have to do with stuff that we don't know. We know that the gut biome controls way more than we ever understood it to control. And so I believe that, you know, as we start to learn more about the gut biome and certain species of bacteria that live in our gut, I wouldn't be surprised if we found out that, you know, people that have a heavy population of, a particular species might have more of this than that. So there's so much that we don't know about digestion yet. Because the gut biome wasn't even something that we even talked about in my medical school. And that was back 2001 to 2005. So we're still there's so much unknown. And then DIM. So DIM stands for diinyl methane. So it's a supplement. But it's actually found in cruciferous vegetables. So like your broccoli, your cauliflower, whatnot. So it's not something that you necessarily have to take a pill for to get this substance, but it is definitely, I'm trying to think if one of my discount coaches, she's not on, I think I told you guys about her a few weeks ago. This was the one supplement that helped her get past her estrogen dominance. And so estrogen dominance is, as we hit our 30s, the amount of progesterone that our adrenal glands start to go down. We start to take in foods, give ourselves exposure to toxins that make our estrogen go up. So it's basically the balance of the estrogen to progesterone gets off whack. So sometimes it's not we're producing too much estrogen, it's just we're not producing enough progesterone. Sometimes it's we are not getting rid of enough estrogen, so we have more estrogen compared to progesterone. But DIM is a supplement that will help regulate and bring down that estrogen concentration. It blocks the aromatase, which is basically an enzyme that converts testosterone to estrogen, which is good. We want testosterone, right? We don't want as much as men have, but testosterone helps us in a lot of different functions. It helps with our sex drive, and that aromatase is blocked by DIM. So does every person on here need the supplement DIM? Absolutely not. But if you have fine-tuned and you're 100% for sure, and ideally you're working with a functional medicine doctor who's like, you've got estrogen dominance, and so we're going to attack it this way, and you've tried everything else, the addition of a DIM supplement actually might be the one thing. But there's so many other things that you can do before to tackle the concept of estrogen dominance is your main underlying hormonal imbalance, there's so many other things that you can do before going to DIM. So that's a long roundabout way of answering that. Do you have anything that you want to add to that, Melissa?
Just really fast. I think nothing about what you said, you answered that perfectly, but I just want to share with you working with the Nutritional Therapist Association, the two main things that we're focusing on, this is 10 months of hardcore learning about the body and everything that it's mind-blowing. I'm just going to say that. But the two biggest things that we're learning about are digestion and blood sugar regulation, which I can tell you from going to school to ASU many, many years ago to work to get my degree in nutrition. Nope. and you've got Lauren, a medical doctor, telling you, nope. So it's funny how, you've got to look for things that obviously educate you in what really matters, but how times are changing. And even my rant on my stories today, and Lauren and I, talked a little bit after, it's just not enough today to think that it's just about calories and macros. So, it's totally going off on a tangent, but just when it comes to your digestion, you asking about that, it's true right now, what they're learning in science is freaking mind blowing about and that's why so many people are trying to get healthy and trying to lose weight and stuff, but can't because they're not addressing what the problem is stemming from, which is most likely your digestion and or your blood sugar irregulation. So.
Yep. All right, next question. Jade Tita talked about that. Shannon, he said we should be eating differently during the cycle. I don't know. Who's Jade Tita? That name sounds familiar. Okay, Amanda said, I really want to get off my birth control, but I'm getting married in 6 weeks and don't want to have any big changes in my body when I do. I've never had bad acne. Yeah, congratulations for sure. I've never had bad acne, so I'm not worried about that. But are there other side effects of getting off of birth? Okay.
That's all you.
Yeah. Okay. So I never thought that I would be advising someone to hold off on getting off birth control, but I'm going to advise you to hold off till after the wedding because my own personal experience, because when I got off of birth control, I'd never had problems with acne ever. And at 27 years old, I started to have issues with acne. I got off of birth control because the melasma had gotten so bad. A lot of you probably have already heard me talk about that, but I have a whole new respect for people that struggle with acne because it really does affect you in so many different ways. And I did, I was in the middle of residency. I was surrounded by a bunch of doctors, really smart people, derm residents, derm attendings, all sorts of, OBGYN residents, OBGYN docs, that, all people that super smart, and not a single one of them even talked about like, well, what are you eating? And, have you tried to cut out dairy? So I don't know if those would have, I know that they would have decreased my acne, but would it have completely made it go away? I don't know. But I do know that I struggled so bad that I ended up going on Accutane because the topical worked for a little bit and then it didn't. And then I did the spironolactone, which is a prescription drug. Then I went to Accutane, and I really wish that I wouldn't, now that I know what I know, wish that I wouldn't have, but you're being on birth control for so long, it just messes with so much. So wedding is kind of important. You don't want to be pimple face on your wedding. I get that. So I would probably wait till after. A good book to read is a book by Dr. Jolene Brighten called, I think it's After the Pill. And she's a very well-known, respected person when it comes to this topic of oral birth control or birth control pills in general. So I would just start reading about it and getting yourself more educated, and then do it after your wedding. Long story short. Okay, Jennifer wrote, with seeds like flax seeds, if we eat them whole versus ground, do we get the same nutritional benefits? Is it better to eat ground? You want to answer that, Melissa?
Yeah, it is. I don't know if you've ever had, eaten corn and then seen it in the toilet in its whole form. I
don't remember eating corn. Anyone know what movie that is? Austin Powers. Thank you. I see Sabrina. I know.
There's that hard shell, that husk over those kind of things intentionally to protect themselves. I mean, I'm going to give you, it's to me, it's fascinating, but the reason why those seeds and nuts have these hard shells is because they want animals to eat them, and then to pass them and poop them out still in their whole form so that it can sprout in the dirt down the road. That's how, Mother Nature makes it so things get spread. You're no different. So by grounding it, it's so much easier for your body to digest than whole.
And it also helps aid in the digestion process. I mean, this is why anyone will tell you, and I've got to be better about this, but like chewing every single bite of your food 20 to 30 times. I mean, if you've ever, I can stand here and tell you that I really haven't honestly made it through one meal where I've done that with every single bite, because it really is, it's like, and I'm a fast eater in general, which is not good, but the reason why chewing so it's that many chews per bite is because it helps aid in the digestion process. So how many times do we chew a few times and swallow, and we're slowing down the digestion process. And again, if you are eating all of the greatest, healthiest foods, if you're not digesting it properly, you're not benefiting from it maximally. So, okay, Melissa, you talked about how fructose intake can lead to leptin resistance. Oh, here we go. She was ready for this. Is it just leptin resistance, or is it also an increase in ghrelin production, since those two hormones are inversely correlated? All right, take it away, Melissa.
As you can see with this chart, absolutely. And Dr. Lauren and I will tell you, I'll link this so you can look at it, Sabrina. But it absolutely does. And the thing is I want to say that, man-made high fructose corn syrup is always way worse than the fructose that you will find in fruit. But there's still, high fructose corn syrup is created from fructose. You're still going to have that aspect. Whenever I do the ultimate reset, and I eat so much freaking fruit. My bowl is ginormous. I'm not kidding you if I were to say it's probably 8 cups of fruit, and I will eat that whole huge bowl. And I usually get like 10 different fruits. It's beautiful. It's sitting there having dessert, and it's not 30 minutes that I'm not hungry again. And I know it's because of the disruption of ghrelin and leptin that fructose has on me. So absolutely. I just wanted you to see that from this website, which for you guys, it's always, if you ever want to nerd out and you want facts, PubMed is the place to go. And you can always go in the search bar and just search something that you are curious about. And, and the funny thing is you will see, because, a lot of these, they're facts. They're not going to put any kind of opinion in these things, but at the same time, where I could look up, are carbohydrates good or carbohydrates bad? You'll find studies on everything. But a lot of them are studies and they're just abstracts. And Lauren and I will tell you that you always want to look for what's called a meta-analysis, randomized controlled study. Those are the best to look at because they're obviously huge. They take different studies and they put all the studies together to figure out what is the biggest commonality of all of them. But it's just a really great place to go, especially if there's something that you're just like, I need a black and white answer. I would go there.
Absolutely. It's funny because last night, I'm not talking shit, but I am. I was asked to speak on this thing that Beachbody does every year called the Shakeology Surge, where it's literally like, 5 or 6 different speakers talking about the different aspects of Shakeology, from the nutritional benefits to, how to share it on social media, all the kind of things that help coaches, right? It's not for customers. You can learn a lot from it, but anyway, so I was asked to speak on it. And I was talking about the diet cycle. And then other speakers came on and someone was like, don't even Google, just go to Pinterest. And I was like, no, this is the problem, is that when people are sharing information, a 7-year-old who's tech savvy can make a Pinterest post or even a website look like it's made by a doctor. That's why going to PubMed to start your research is where you need to go. Don't go to Pinterest. There's a lot of false information on both Google and Pinterest. So yeah. Okay, let's see. Okay, Jade Tita was on Model Health. Okay, that's why, because I haven't listened to his podcast in a while. I haven't been listening. I go in waves with podcasts. I listen to a bunch, and then I go to audiobooks, and then I go back. So loved that meeting last night. It was well worth a listen. Well, yay, excellent, good. I was hoping that it would be. Okay, what type of blood test should we consider getting done to see our hormone levels? I'm curious about my levels because I've never had anything like that tested. You know, Jennifer, that it's impossible to answer that. That's why, I mean, you really do need you need a functional medicine doctor that can guide and direct you, because just a blanket, oh, I'm going to order all the hormones that are possible, you're going to spend a lot of money, because most insurance companies will not cover all of those. And, you know, I'll be honest with you, a lot of conventional medical doctors, one, either won't take the time to help interpret all of those. So then you go to Dr. Google, and then you're like more confused before than you were after, or more confused after than you were before. And then two, a lot of these labs that I order as a functional medicine doctor were not taught to me. And let me just give you an example. I knew what antibodies to your thyroid were, but I wasn't taught to look for them. I just would order a typical stereotypical thyroid panel, which doesn't include thyroid antibodies. And so I've had plenty of people that I've seen over the years have low thyroid, but have a completely normal thyroid panel. But then you go and you get a few more labs, like looking for antibodies to your thyroid. And then, oh, all of a sudden you see the signs, because those signs it's just like the lab test that I found, where I found my own pancreas was already showing beta cell dysfunction. So remember, beta cells are the cells in your pancreas that produce insulin. And at 34, despite me looking super healthy, me teaching 4 classes a week, me lifting weights and doing HIIT training on the days I wasn't teaching, me following what I thought was a healthy diet, because that's what all of the magazines told me. I was supposed to be eating 5-6 times a day, a low-fat diet lifestyle. And despite that, I was already showing signs of insulin resistance. But if I would have just gone to my normal PCP, that beta cell dysfunction wouldn't have been there. So that is an indirect measurement of a hormone. It's not directly measuring insulin, although measuring insulin is 100% beneficial. You can get a lot from looking at a fasting insulin and whatnot. But beta cell dysfunction is a way of looking at what's going on with my overall insulin in general. So does that make sense? Yes, no, maybe?
Yes, ma'am.
I see most people just looking at the screen like, I don't know what you just said. Okay, can you answer the next? This is my landscaper. Hold up 2 seconds.
I was gonna answer it anyway. The DEXA scan, man, I love the DEXA scan. And I think if you're ever going to do it, I would highly encourage that you go the next step, because those machines can also give you a bone density. You know, they were designed for osteoporosis, so you can get a bone density scan as well. I have mine here. I think that you could probably do it every month and see great results from it, because, you know, in a month's time, you can make sure that you're losing body fat and retaining muscle or growing muscle, if that's your goal, because that's probably the most accurate way to see that you're losing weight in the right way. It's just, it happens to be expensive. I know that a lot of places, their Groupon is great. And right now they're probably having really good deals where you can buy it in bulk. So you can buy it in bulk and you can justify doing it once a month. I don't see anything wrong with that. I was just having a conversation with a gal this morning that doesn't want to let her scale go. She weighs every day, but she obsesses about it. And I can't get her to put the scale away. She says when she puts the scale away, she gains weight. So I'm not going to argue with her. But just like with the DEXA scan, you have to take it as information, and with the scale as well, find an app or even just make yourself a little spreadsheet to where you can get on the scale, or you can take this DEXA once a month and just take it as information and chart it, because just like with anything else, your weight will fluctuate so much from day to day. But if you would just be patient and just don't let it take any kind of emotion over, and just use it as information to look from the beginning of the month to the end of the month at your little scale that, or your chart that you've made, to notice that it goes like this, but it does go down over the 30 days. Same with the DEXA scan, which is why I try to do it every 3 months, because I can analyze, and I'm trying to build muscle right now. I'm 46, I'm pushing hard to build muscle. And so when I get these scans, that's what I'm looking for, is that my body fat stays, I don't care if it goes down anymore, that it stays the same, but that I'm retaining or growing muscle, because that's my goal. So take it as information, but just don't get on the scale for the day and be like, this sucks, this isn't working for me. Or don't take one DEXA scan and be so blown away, unhappy with what you see, without waiting that month of working hard and making that change to be able to make that long-term comparison, because that's what we're going for, is a long-term change, not just a week-to-week change. You're muted, honey.
My bad. Yeah. Sorry. Okay. So Amanda asked, any tips or comments on the hormone reset diet, reading the book now and want to do it with a couple of people because I'm curious. So great question. So here's the thing. What you're going to learn is that as you start to read more books, both Melissa and I have our own set of books that we recommend. A lot of them are the same, but you'll start to see some common patterns. And I will tell you right now that the approach to the hormone reset diet by Dr. Sarah Gottfried, I actually met her in California. She's a cool chick. And that's a book that I have recommended to people that are not ready to commit to me coaching them, but it's a great resource. Her approach to the diet is just a little bit different, but the way she eats is exactly what we're teaching y'all. Bottom line.
That's what I was asking Amanda, and thank you. That's a great description.
Yeah.
I haven't read the book, so.
Yeah, another example is a book that was just released, I don't know, maybe a month ago, because her publicist reached out to me and wanted me to interview her. She's an OBGYN, and the book is called The Hormone Fix. And I read it just so I could see it, but it's more of the same. It's more of the same, just she has her own key phrases that she calls the same, and you know, at the end of the day, if it reaches people, that's cool. But you know, you have to realize that we are not teaching you anything that is new. We're teaching you how to eat like humans. And
right.
we're trying to support you as coaches to stop the habits that humans have created with this fake food over the last decades of our existence. But we are not teaching you anything brand new, or really doing mostly unteaching of you don't need to snack. You don't need to eat first thing when you wake up in the morning. You don't need to eat every 2 to 3 hours to keep your metabolism. Like, we're doing more unteaching than teaching.
I love that. That is so true.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't even read your response, Melissa. You went ahead and we're on the same page. Maria wrote, last night, Darren and Aline spoke about the ultimate reset and how amazing it is. I know you both have done it. What does it exactly reset? Metabolism, hormones? Yes. Gut? Yes. I mean, it does. It really is. It's like Darren said last night, it is probably the most underutilized product. Mm-hmm. And it's expensive for a good reason. I remember the first time that I got it and I actually looked at all the ingredients of all the different supplements. I'm like, this is no different than what other health gurus, we can name them all off. Mark Hyman, Sarah Gottfried, Sean Stevenson. This is nothing different, but we've formulated it so that it can be a nice process of 3 weeks of let's do this and just reset everything. So, but it's expensive for a good reason. So but yeah, no, it's a great program. I know Melissa does it biannually every 6 months.
So it just gives your body a rest. I mean, because everything that you're eating is really easily digestible, especially if you go easy on the greens.
Yeah. Yep.
And it really does allow your body to just take a rest, you know.
For sure, for sure. Okay, so Amanda said I had a thyroid blood test. The doctor said that my creatinine level was high. How would I lower that level? She recommended water, but I already drank 90 ounces of water that day. You know, that's more of a, that would be more of a, I need to know more of that, because BUN and creatinine are the two labs that we look at as physicians when we look at kidney function. And depending on hydration, depending on what drugs you take, depending on a whole bunch of things, it can mean some really bad stuff. It can mean nothing. You know, it would be that, you know, that is where I would say I would need more information. Of course, I'm a medical doctor, but not your medical doctor. Always have to say that. My challenger wants to know if there's if there's a way to repair the damage done to her thyroid from radiation treatment, so she doesn't have to be on Synthroid. Unfortunately not. So that is she's kind of in the same boat as if she had her thyroid removed. The thyroid, it doesn't regenerate itself. So any damage that has been done it's radiation. So, it's not going to regenerate. And it's kind of like, you know, people that have already had their thyroid out, like you can't survive without thyroid hormones. So you'll always have to supplement, to some extent, with thyroid supplements. So unfortunately that's the case. Kathleen wrote, UC Davis Health provides a DEXA scan at affordable prices. Bod pods are cheap, but not as accurate. Oh, that's good to know, Kathleen. Thanks for sharing. It's 21 days and every 3 days you eliminate something. Yeah. And Amanda, you're talking about the 21-day hormone reset with Dr. Sarah Gottfried. Really, it's just the approach that which it's very clever for those of you that want the limited edition, the Cliff's Notes. The first 3 days she deals with estrogen. And so she tells you to cut out wine and meat. And she's talking about conventional raised meat, right? And then the next 3 days, I believe it goes to insulin. So she tells you to cut out sugar on top of the wine and meat, right? So it's additive every 3 days. And every 3 days, she's dealing with one particular hormone that she's resetting, but she's also teaching you that, hey, thyroid, let's cut out gluten and grains, right? So, and it's additive. So by the time, I believe the fourth or the fifth hormone is cortisol. And so she has you take off all caffeine. So she has you wean off of, you know, for those of you that are like, you know, you have a lot of caffeine in a day. If you just stop caffeine today, you're going to have massive headache for a few days from caffeine withdrawal. But she leads you up to withdrawing from caffeine slowly, so that by the fifth hormone of cortisol, she has you wean off of caffeine. So it's a clever book. And that's why it is one that if someone's not willing to work with me and commit, but that's the thing. Again, I want to reiterate that you can have all the information in the world, but people oftentimes are missing the support. And this is why, I mean, I had a staff meeting here and was talking about how vital the coaching part is for people's journey. I had 3 staff members that had seen a functional medicine doctor in the past, and they all said the same thing. Yeah, I left, I bought a bunch of supplements, and then that's about it, and kind of got lost in the journey. And that's just where the journey starts. And to have a person helping coach you and helping you stay accountable on that journey is what's key. And this is why Melissa and I are so passionate about this role that we don't take lightly as coaches. So let's see, blah, blah, blah. Questions that were posted in the group need to be addressed. Okay. Leah private messaged me that. So let's see. Can you suggest supplements to take besides Calm? What magnesium supplements do you take?
Oh, my gosh, I just put it in my stories too. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but I'll be back.
Yep.
It's really good.
It's really good. She promises. Tell me where the questions are that I'm supposed to be answering, Leah. Or Do y'all have questions that you've written in the group that I'm not seeing? I've got so many damn groups, it's ridiculous. I know I'm in the right group. I'm just looking for where, let's see. I'm still finding more. Okay. Leah's looking for more. What other questions do you guys have for me? Oh, there she goes.
Well, I want to talk to you guys. I mean, I talked about this in my stories, but I wanted to share with you too. That doesn't really help, does it? Can you see that very well? It's Enzymedica. This company only makes enzymes. For a lot of you that maybe have digestive issues, it's not something that you necessarily have to take every single time that you eat. But there are times that I know, like I kind of like Brussels sprouts, and there are times that I'll put them in the oven with a little bit of bacon, and I could literally eat a trough of them, and I will. And I will take one of these just because that's a lot of fiber, it's a lot of roughage in my system at that time. And so I'll write it down. It's Digest Gold. Or if like I said in my stories, if you're gonna have pizza with your family and you don't do dairy, you don't do well with dairy, but for goodness sakes, it's your child's birthday and you're gonna have a piece of cheese pizza with them, take a digestive enzyme to help take the burden off of your poor gut that it's gonna wreak havoc on. Just to have something like this handy, put a couple in your purse, have at the house, because you can take it before, during, or after, and it's gonna help. Now this was recommended to me because I did have, things on my back, and I realized I hadn't pooped for a while, which isn't like me, but my girlfriend recommended Renew Life. It's called Cleansmore, and it's mostly, I'll write that down too, it's mostly magnesium. I think it is a synthetic magnesium, to be honest with you, but it really helped. So if a lot of people take magnesium because they need that natural, that help for that. And I was taking my husband, because I'm like, will you go get this for me? I was really backed up. He's like, no, I have magnesium. And so he handed me, and I was taking him for a couple of days, and it wasn't helping. So my girlfriend's like, just try this. And so I took it, and it did. And it was a very pleasant experience. It didn't make me have to run to the bathroom or anything. It was just a very smooth operation. So just to put this, maybe as well, if you suffer from constipation here and there, magnesium is great for that, obviously, because it hydrates your colon. But also on the opposite end of the spectrum, if you have loose bowels, you might be careful if you might be getting too much magnesium, or you don't want to have extra magnesium because it's just going to make your bowels even more loose. So let me write this down.
I just went to go because I realized I brought all my supplements up here, because I typically don't take my additional supplements until I have my first meal and break my fast. So I was like, I'm just going to bring them up here, and that way I can show them to my patients as they come in. But someone asked about a good thyroid supplement. Now, again, I believe the way of the future is going to be supplement directed prescriptions, if you will. So you see your functional medicine doctor, you get all of your vitamins and minerals measured, and you get your hormones tested, you get your gut checked, you get this whole profile, and then you have something that is for you specifically. Because to say that this thyroid supplement is good for everyone, it's not right, So there is one that I don't have it in here. It's made by Pure Encapsulations, which I believe. So here's the thing. Some of these brands you can get on Amazon, but I recently just read an article talking about how there's a lot of counterfeit stuff on Amazon. So I don't, now I have an account with all of these different nutraceuticals, which are basically prescription level nutraceuticals, or supplements that are quality grade pharmaceuticals but are not regulated by the FDA. And there's certain brands that you can only get via a script from a provider, right? Pure Encapsulations used to be one of those. I don't know at what point they went and made their supplements available on Amazon, but so far up to this point, I've gotten most of my Pure encapsulation. So this is a brand. This is DIM. This is the supplement we were talking about before. But y'all want to talk about supplements real fast? So supplements that I take, obviously Shakeology. I literally just had this conversation with one of the estheticians that works here. She's like, okay, so explain to me, I can go get my protein shake at Costco and it's like $30. So what's the difference? No, I'm just like, this is why I spoke on the National Wake Up Call, just saying. But what's the difference? And what I really want you guys understand is that the micronutrition is what's missing in most people's overall nutrition. And Shakeology is not just a protein shake. So my number one go-to supplement that I take every day is Shakeology, and it just happens to be yummy, and I enjoy it. The other supplements that I take are in pill form, and I hate taking pill form, but there are some supplements that I do take every single day. So an omega-3 fatty acid. How many of you take an omega-3 every day?
Krill.
Yep. So krill oil is a good option. The Pure Encapsulations has one that's a nice combination of the DHA and EPA. But there's so much research coming out that a minimum of 1 gram a day, but up to 4 grams a day. So I start my day off and end it with taking 1 gram of omega-3 fatty acid first thing in the morning and at night. What other supplements? I take my probiotic. I take Thrive, the Thrive probiotic. What others do you take every day?
So I just put this in I took these because Nora Gautis, she's the one who really got me obsessed with some stuff. She's even more insane, I think, than Lauren and I are, if it's possible. And I trust her recommendation. She's the one who just Thrive. She's the one who recommended them. They also, it's called Charlotte's Web, and they're CBD gummies. They're raspberry flavored. I think they're great. Symphony jokes that they taste like raspberry flavored weed. I don't really taste it, but it's the plant-based cannabis, 10 milligrams, and it's got melatonin in it, and it's incredible. And for me, it sounds so stupid, but it's 2 little pieces of candy I get to have at night, so I don't ever miss it. But they're just 2 little squares, and I think they're great. And they give you such a wonderful, gentle night's sleep. They're not the, of course, just like Shakeology, not the cheapest that you're going to get. And Kelly, my assistant, uses them as well, but to save herself money, she only has 1 a night, but it's still, and she's always had trouble sleeping, and she swears by them. They really help her have a better quality night's sleep.
I will add on though, you have to be careful when taking supplements that mess with the negative feedback loop with any hormones. And so melatonin is a hormone. It's a hormone that our pineal gland produces in our brain. And if you are giving yourself melatonin every single night, then your own production of melatonin will be decreased, if not shut down. So, melatonin is great supplement to use like when you're traveling and you're going to different time zones, but every single night I personally wouldn't recommend it because of the negative feedback loop that happens with our body's thermostat of regulating hormone homeostasis. So I would just say that. Stephanie wrote, I would love to know more about the Calm supplement. So the Calm supplement is just magnesium. And magnesium we know is a natural relaxant. We use IV magnesium to relax a pregnant woman's uterus that's in premature labor. I mean, it relaxes the muscles. If you have muscle spasms, if you have restless leg syndrome, we know that it relaxes those muscles. It relaxes the CNS, the central nervous system. So it is a great supplement. And my night that I bragged on that I got 100% sleep, I took my magnesium, my Calm the night before with a little lion's mane in it. So I'm a huge fan, but there's so many, honestly, if there is anything that you take away from this group, I want you to understand that your sleep is like the most important thing that you need to prioritize. And, before I started my functional medicine journey, I knew it was important, but I didn't actually realize how it is truly, it's the most important thing that a majority of us are ignoring because we've gotten by with whatever for so long. And it is the number one thing that will lead to early death if you ignore bad sleep. So a great book that I always recommend that I know a lot of you have already read because a lot of you do follow Sean Stevenson at the Model Health Show is his Sleep Smarter. He does the audiobook. The audiobook is awesome because I love his voice. It's a very sexy voice. And he breaks it down. He gives you 21 take home points of how to start reclaiming your sleep. I hear a blinker, like someone's turning in their car. Do you hear that?
I got it.
But yeah. But sleep is something that I know a lot of you've heard my own journey, but if you have shitty sleep every night, you're not going to fix it in 1 week, 4 weeks, even 6 weeks. It's something that you have to be committed to for the long long haul, but understand that I was literally addicted to sleep, Ambien. I was taking Ambien every single night. I started off with the 5 milligram and then, would every now and then put 10 milligrams in, and I'd feel guilty about it because I don't want to be addicted because benzodiazepines, the Xanax, the Valium, the Ambien, those are all in a category that can be abused, and long-term effects of taking benzodiazepines are bad. And actually it was my ex-husband who he found a few research articles and he's like, I really think that you should consider getting yourself off of this because long-term, this is not good for you. So he wasn't a bad person. He was just an alcoholic and I didn't want to be married to him anymore. but that being said, sleep is something that you've got to start and commit getting back to better sleep. Or maybe you've never had good sleep and you've lost belief that you can. And I just thought that I was like, well, my dad is a crappy sleeper and I'm just destined to be a bad sleeper my whole life. And it's not true, but you have to be intentional about it. So Calm, the CBD, just oral CBD alone is good. If you're in a state like California, Illinois, marijuana is legal. I believe that the medicinal powers of marijuana outweigh all of the bad that comes along with it. It can be an aid. It's not something that I want you to get used to having all the time, but there are a lot of natural sleep aids that don't mess with your neurochemistry in your brain and whatnot. So let's see.
If I can say two things really fast.
Absolutely.
You guys know that Lauren and I see eye to eye 95% of the time, but there'll be times that we don't, because I do want to add that I've worked with Kelly for a very long time and she's tried so many different things. And I believe one of the things that kept her from losing weight is she really literally could not sleep. She was struggling to get a good night's sleep. And she found something that is really helping her get a good night's sleep. And she's tried lots of different things. So yeah, even if it's short term.
Yeah, short term is cool.
That I show, but I'm not even saying short term like a couple of weeks, but I mean, if it takes, quite a while for you to get that pattern of sleep and then you can pull back on it, cool. But I don't think that something like Charlotte's Web is a bad thing. I mean, it's a 30-day supply, so even there or a little more, if you really struggle, sleep, like she said, is the most important thing that you'll do besides inhale. And if you just have a really hard time with a good night's sleep, sometimes it's worth trying something that has worked for other people.
Yeah, absolutely. And months is not long term. I mean, it took me years to get my sleep back on track. And yes, melatonin was one of the aids that I used. I didn't use it every night, but it is definitely a great aid to help you get past that hump that a lot of people struggle with, like Kelly did. So, okay, let's see. Charlotte, do you spread your supplements out throughout the day? Are they more effective if you do that in that way? That's a great question. So depends on the supplement, and it also depends on if it needs to be taken with, if it's fat soluble or not. So, this is where read the label, because it tells you if it needs to be taken with food or not. And when they say food, they mean something that has fat. And it also tells you what time of day that it needs to be taken. So yeah, I take supplements in just a few first thing in the morning and then at night. So, and that's it. And then obviously my Shakeology during the day. You have anything else you want to add?
I want to tell you guys a funny story. So it was Father's Day, and Mick is a little high strung, my husband.
You think?
We're so polar opposites. It's hilarious. But my children bought him an edible, Rice Krispie treat edible. And they really want him to start taking it at night to help him relax and to sleep better.
Oh, Lord.
And he hasn't taken it yet. I'm so nervous for him. But this is just an observation. Okay, so the edible's like this big. And my kids who, they've all done edibles. Like, I've never even done an edible before. I've never done marijuana at all. But they're like, he needs to literally take like that much of the edible. And yeah, Melanie's nodding. Why do they sell it? And it looks so fucking good. I mean, that should be illegal to make a cookie or a Rice Krispie treat. And then to tell you only to have this much of it. He doesn't like them, so he's not concerned about it. But that is just mind blowing to me that you can do that. It's like taking a little tiny bite of a cookie and being like, okay, you're good. Maybe it tastes bad. I don't know.
I know Leah is wondering if I'm going to tell this story or not. And yes, I'm going to tell my own story. This is the benefit of this private group, the circle of trust. Okay. 2 summers ago, or maybe was it 3 summers ago? It was when my knee had been re-injured and it was in so much pain. And my best childhood friend, Kerbo, my best friend Jessica, and Leah all came to visit me in California. And a few of them had never tried marijuana, and we were in a state that's legal and we're in a safe place. And I personally know the pain relieving benefits of it. So I was actually like, we were, at Manhattan Beach. I was like, let's get some at Manhattan Beach, go back to the safety of my home, and then y'all can try it. And then it can help my knee, the pain. And it was my first and last time to ever do an edible. And I was not paying enough attention to how much I should eat. And I was just in so much pain. I wanted to have the pain go away. So when we got back to my home, they all got in the shower. I took what I thought was a half a dose. And in fact, it wasn't a half a dose. It was double the dose. And I had my first experience, which will be my last experience with an edible. And I'll just tell you this. Yes, there was vomiting involved, and there was me on the couch. And all I know was, I was mentally there completely. And I just remember saying, I cannot believe that people want to do this for fun. This is so not fun. It's like, I know that my arm can move, see, but I can't move it. And then that's when my friend Kerbo was like, Lauren, that's why they call it stoned. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you feel like you're a stone statue. That being said, I'm not anti-edibles, but eat the right dose, yo. Eat the right dose. Okay, that story stays here. No, I'm just kidding. I actually plan on sharing that at some point because it is a funny story. So yeah, we are approaching, we've got 5 minutes left. So how often should Calm be taken? Megan, that's a good question. I like to try and take it every night because magnesium, again, like I said, magnesium we're almost all deficient in, and it really does help me get good quality sleep. So I take 2 teaspoons of it at night. Don't take 2 tablespoons because you will be up shitting your pants all night. Just saying. So yeah, legal in Canada, and we have edible stores everywhere. So much better than alcohol. Oh, totally. I believe, and you know, I've always been pro pot, not because I smoke it or take it myself, but just because I very rarely ever saw any trauma victims from someone that was high on pot. It was always a drunk driver or people that were on really like real drugs, like the hardcore drugs that led them to do dumb things and hurt people. So very rarely do you ever see a victim of someone that was high on marijuana doing anything. So, so yeah. All right. Anything else? Oh, I think we got all the questions.
We can, as we sign off, can share that, you know, for those of you that are, you know, still with us, you continue to be with us. I think I shared with you last week, I may or may not have, Lauren and I talking about how much we enjoy these calls with you guys. You always bring the best questions. And I learned from Lauren every time we do this. I hope maybe she pulls something away with me.
Yes.
And so we will continue to do this, you know, all throughout July as well. And so if you're part of that group, you'll see a lot of the same information, but like I told you, the more you hear it, the better, but we will also be adding more value. And then every week you've got the opportunity, especially you guys being graduates, you'll be able to, you know, ask questions on a different level and at a different stage in this than people who are just starting that journey. You'll be able to get a little bit deeper into fine tuning how to help you on a more specific level, which is exactly why we do the Q&A, and we're very specific with who we allow in as people that are really, you know, working hard to make that difference. So super excited to continue that with you guys next month and help you be the light for the people that are just coming into this group, because it's, you know, you now have the experience to share with them as well. So if you by chance see a question pop up, then you can be like, I was there, or I remember when Dr. Lauren talked about that. I remember when Melissa talked about that. And here's what they said. So you could be a resource for us as well, which would be wonderful.
Exactly. Well, I thank you guys so much. I appreciate every single one of you. And the next group official start date is July 6th. So next week you have off, but you don't, because I want to challenge you to really dig deep this next week and just stay strong and realize that, you know, this journey, it's not about perfection. You know, one thing that we coaches, we get often is that message, proverbial message of, I fell off the wagon. I feel so bad. I have so much shame. Stop shaming yourself. Give yourself grace. This is not about perfection. There's no such thing as perfection. Some people fall off the bandwagon for a day. Some people fall off of it for a week, a month, whatever it is. I don't care. We're not here to judge you. We're here to support you in your journey and meet you halfway. We can't do the work for you, but you have to understand that I believe in you. Melissa believes in you. And we believe 100% that if you start believing that you can take back your health, you will. But it happens one day at a time. And I promise you, the hard work that you're putting into it will pay dividends over the long haul. So appreciate you guys greatly. And we'll see y'all in a week.
Absolutely. Bye, guys.
Bye.